A New Hampshire judge blocked Trump's plan to end birthright citizenship. Trump sues California over overpriced eggs. Utah sets an execution date for a convicted murderer with dementia. And let's get into it. Welcome to Nelly Miranda. On Thursday, U.S. District Judge Joseph LaPlante issued a preliminary injunction blocking President Trump's executive order to end birthright citizenship. That order was signed January 20th, and it aimed to deny automatic citizenship to children born in the U.S. to parents who are illegally or temporarily here. But LaPlante's ruling says this would cause irreparable harm. He has now certified a class action lawsuit representing every child affected by the policy. Now, let me repeat, every child born here to non-U.S. citizens is now part of this legal challenge. The plaintiffs argue that their children could become stateless, stripped of U.S. rights and benefits. And of course, the mainstream media is cheering this on because apparently enforcing immigration law now counts as cruelty.
Also at this hour, we are following some breaking news as a judge has now ruled on President Trump's birthright order. This is a live look right here of the White House. This coming in to our live now from Fox Studios just moments ago that a judge has blocked President Trump's birthright citizenship order. So the very latest from Reuters is that a federal judge today has again barred President Trump's administration from enforcing his executive order limiting birthright citizenship nationwide after the U.S. Supreme Court restricted the ability of judges to block his policies using nationwide injunctions. The U.S. District Judge from Concord, New Hampshire, made this ruling after immigrant rights advocates asked him to grant class action status to a lawsuit that they filed seeking to represent babies whose citizenship status would be threatened by implementation of President Trump's directive. Now, the judge agreed the plaintiffs could proceed as a class, allowing him to issue a fresh judicial order blocking implementation of President Trump's policy nationally.
This injunction also follows a recent Supreme Court decision that limited nationwide injunctions. So what is the loophole? Class certification. So in other words, judges can't block a law for the whole country unless they simply call it a class action. Like, okay, that's cute. So birthright citizenship was never meant to apply to illegal or short-term residents, but here we are. Meanwhile, the Trump administration is taking California to court, and this time it's over eggs. Yes, eggs. California's Proposition 12 demands that all hens need to have enough room to lie down, to stand, and turn around. However, this rule affects every farm in America that sells to California. So what happened? Farmers everywhere had to change their practices, spend more money, or get shut out of the nation's largest economy. And who pays the price? You. Egg prices are up. Grocery bills are up. Trump's lawsuit argues that California's rule violate federal law, specifically the Egg Products Inspection Act of 1970, which already governed eggs safely.
This new suit by the Trump administration goes after a California law protecting hens from being kept in small cages. Voters approved that law, and the Supreme Court upheld it just 2 years ago. ABC 7 News reporter J.R. Stone looks at this latest legal battle between California and the White House.
The Trump administration is suing the state of California over animal cruelty laws. The lawsuit says the state's minimum space requirements for hens contributed to a historic rise in egg prices by imposing unnecessary red tape on the production of eggs.
I'm against the Trump administration on this one. I think that animals they should be raised humanely.
That's Leslie Citron of Mill Valley Chickens. She sells eggs and raises chickens. With 63% of the vote, California voters passed Measure 2 in 2008 and 12 in 2018 that required more space for animals raised in confinement, including egg-laying hens. Here's Cassie King of Direct Action Everywhere, an animal rights group.
There are actually studies showing that there was like a 1 cent increase for the cost of these eggs, because what Propositions 2 and 12 did is mandate a single square foot of space for chickens. And the reality is that factory farming is brewing diseases like avian flu, spreading it rapidly across densely packed animal populations. And we know that this is what needs to be addressed to prevent price fluctuations, to prevent huge public health disasters.
King referenced the Justice Department's investigation on price fixing among some of the largest egg producers in the country, something Citron is also concerned about. The administration argues only the federal government can regulate eggs, claiming California's laws raised prices and limited the egg supply. Governor Newsom's press office posted on X saying, Trump's back to his favorite hobby, blaming California for literally everything.
This is an attack on California that could hurt everyone in the country, including millions and millions of animals who are living in these facilities and already have so few protections.
There have been previous challenges to some of California's animal cruelty laws, but they have never held up in court.
So here's what consumers have to say about the cost of eggs.
Definitely notice, like, for certain type of egg, the price went up high by a lot.
I think I pay about $7 for a carton of 12. And then if I buy 18, it's about $10. And they all seem to be about the same price.
Me personally, I'm on the side of California on this one, because I understand the cost might be a little bit more expensive, but I think it's worth it. The little space that they are given right now, to me, is still not enough space. And I think free-range eggs are the best eggs, but most people simply do not care about that. And with the cost of living and how much Americans eat eggs, lower cost would be helpful to all. Moving on to our next story. So in Utah, Judge Matthew Bates has set an execution date, September 5th, for Ralph Leroy Menzies. Menzies is 67 years old. He was convicted of kidnapping, torturing, and murdering a woman named Maureen Hunsaker back in 1986. Now, nearly 40 years later, Menzies suffers from severe vascular dementia. And his attorneys argue he's so far gone, he cannot feed himself or breathe properly on his own. And they're saying that executing a man in this condition is cruel and even unconstitutional. But the judge ruled otherwise. He says that the law does not prohibit setting an execution date, even if medical appeals continue.
The man convicted of killing Maureen Hunsaker will be executed.
The court at this point finds no legal reason not to issue a warrant of execution and to begin the process of moving towards that execution date.
I'm Ben Winslow in West Jordan. A judge has signed the death warrant to have Ralph Leroy Menzies executed, but his lawyers are raising some new claims about his health.
I'm going to sign this order now.
The judge set an execution date of September 5th. Menzies was convicted in 1988 of kidnapping Maureen Hunsaker from her job at a convenience store. He then tied her to a tree in Big Cottonwood Canyon and slit her throat. Her son has waited 39 years for this day.
Overwhelmed, very happy.
But Menzies' lawyers argue he has dementia, and to execute him now would violate the Constitution. They argue his condition has gotten worse.
Mr. Menzies is a 67-year-old man that is suffering from escalating dementia. You know, he's tethered to a wheelchair and an oxygen tank, and he's not competent. And, you know, this has gotten worse over the past year.
Judge Matthew Bates found Menzies competent enough to be executed, but he reserved the right to consider a new application that Menzies' situation has worsened.
Increased confusion, difficulty understanding his surroundings. He has difficulty feeding himself.
The Utah Attorney General's office argues Menzies is competent and can be put to death.
The judge made the correct ruling. Given the arguments, statutes presented today, we have full confidence in the court's ruling.
Menzies has previously elected to die by firing squad. Hunsaker says he wants closure for his family.
I'm preparing myself to go see somebody's life being taken from them. This is going to be a humane sort of a way. His life will be over in mere seconds. My mom, we don't know how long she stood there and suffered in that grove, how long she was, bled to death, and how much she felt and knew.
There are still other options to be considered. A clemency hearing before the Utah Board of Pardons and Parole. Menzies has also got another appeal to the Utah Supreme Court.
Competent enough to be put to death. I'm not making a light of the situation, and it's really not funny, but why did he have to say that? Okay, so here's the question. Is it justice to execute a man who doesn't understand why he's dying? It's a tough call. On one hand, justice delayed is not justice denied, but on the other hand, a man who's effectively brain dead, there's no deterrent value left. There's no lesson being taught, but for the sake of her son, I think her son deserves justice. So here's what we've seen today. So a judge blocked Trump's common sense move on citizenship. California gets sued for driving up egg prices. And Utah faces a moral test on capital punishment. So I want to hear from you. Should children of illegal immigrants automatically get citizenship? And should a man with dementia be executed? Or should he be spared? Let me know in the comments. And if you gotten any value from this video, please make sure you like and subscribe, as it really helps support the channel. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.